Are you in a position where you're defined by your age, and that's limiting you to pursue a dream or goal you want to accomplish? The More Than Your Age podcast is about having conversations with women who fully live their lives without being dictated or defined by their age. This is a space to encourage women who feel blocked to pursue a dream or goal based on their life circumstances. Welcome to the More Than Your Age podcast. I am your host, Emma Pasvar. Let's start living life fully and become more than your age. When I was a junior in high school, I took a dance class for a specific credit I needed. I loved the class. The teacher was the drill team instructor and encouraged me to try out for the drill team. I remember thinking, I'll be a senior. Do people really join that late in the game? Am I too old for that? But then I realized, she was the one who told me to try out, so I should do it. Well, I tried out and made the team. I was one of 2 senior rookies on the team the following year and had a blast. Although this story is semi-silly and not that life-changing, it was a big deal to me at the time. I was 17 and embarking on a new adventure that was super scary to me. When teenagers find a passion and pursue it, it can be life-changing and inspiring to so many. My guest today found a passion at an early age and decided to chase after that passion in a way that most teenagers wouldn't pursue. Emma Sumlin began writing and publishing novels and screenplays all before turning 18. Her path is leading her to act and direct films, and she's only 19. She's a teenager chasing after her dreams and not allowing her youthfulness or lack of experience to prevent her from chasing her goals. No matter your age, I hope this episode will encourage you to chase your own goals as well. Emma Sumlin, welcome to the More Than Your Age podcast. I am so excited to have you here today. Welcome.
Thank you so much. So glad to be here.
Absolutely. I remember when we first met, I don't know if you recall this, but you and your family had just moved back to Texas, and you were, I believe, just a sophomore in high school.
Yeah.
And you were not happy to be here, even though you knew that that's where y'all were supposed to be.
Yes.
And so it was really cool for me, just because I know I shared with you before in college, your dad was my college pastor. And so to get to meet one of his daughters and to be a part of your small group for just a little bit of time was a really a neat full circle moment for me. And when I met you, I remember learning about your passion for theater and acting, and you threw in the fact that you had written several books and screenplays, and I was thinking, wait a second, you've done all this, and you're only, how old are you? You're 15? Are you 16 yet? Can you drive? And so at what point in your life did you discover that you had a passion for film and theater and writing and all the above?
Yeah, well, I feel like ever since, my mom, recalls this moment when I was, I don't know, probably, 4 years old or something, where I was watching Cinderella, and it was the part where they, tore her dress, and, my mom said I just ran out of the room, so she, followed me, and I, just, flew on my bed, so dramatically, and my mom was like, what the heck? She's I was, acting out, the scene. And my mom was like, what child does this? And then, I always loved movies. It was just, the stories just really impacted me as a really, little girl. And I always loved to dress up, and it was fun to play different characters. And I really got into just, writing and film and stuff when I was, I think, I started writing screenplays when I was, 12, because I was I would watch behind the scenes. I was that 6-year-old that would watch the behind the scenes of Tinkerbell, or Enchanted. And those are the movies I remember. I still remember their behind the scenes because I watched them so much. And I was like, wow, these people do this for a job. They get to play pretend for a job and just have fun. And I was like, I would watch the Lord of the Rings behind the scenes and Star Wars, and I would see how they wrote their scripts. And I was like, I love writing. I've always loved writing stories. And so I remember my first script that I ever wrote was a Nancy Drew script that I wanted to make the movie, and I wrote this 20-page script. I thought that was how long normal movies were in screenplays, which I was wrong. But it was pretty fun, and I had planned out to like cast it. I think I tried to cast it, but it eventually like dissolved. And then I started writing just novels, and I mean, looking back over my 12-year-old novels, they are cringy, but it was like you have to start somewhere. And then I just like each year I feel like I learn more. I learned a lot in my English classes about like I never really took like a writing course. It was just everything I learned in my classes and about storytelling. And I watched tons of videos on it, and I started to do it, and people said that like I had a talent, so I was like, okay, maybe I should just try to do this more. I'm clearly not good at math and science, so this must be a strength. And so, yeah, I just started writing and learning the world of that and the editing, and just like I continue to learn. I'm never like, you never reach a point where you're just good at it. I think you just keep trying to do better each time, and each time I do better, and it's like more rewarding and fun, and my stories get longer and longer each time. So that's how like you're able to carry a story, is when it begins to get longer, but like not where it's excessively long, but just like necessarily long.
When you wrote your first books at 12 and you said they're really cringy, what do you remember about some of those that just make you go, I don't want anyone to read this?
Yeah, I remember like yes, when you write a book, you don't want to just like drag it on where the readers are bored. You do want to get to a point, but I feel like I would move on really quickly. Like one of my books I wrote, it was like a island, Lost on an Island book, and like where the characters like they get in this plane crash and their family dies, and then like 5 seconds later they're fine and having a great time on the beach. And I'm like, that's not realistic, and that's super cringy to read. And also I didn't know the formatting of books, so it's like there was spaces, but like all the sentences would just run together, and I thought it was like this masterpiece. And then I would self-publish it like there's this website called Bookemon, and I self-published it, and I'm like, why? Nope, I should never been allowed to just publish my work at 12 because it's so embarrassing to read. But like at the end, I like put a quote by myself, and it's like, someday I hope this turns into a movie. And I'm like, just reading that now, I'm like, no, I'm so glad it didn't.
How did you know especially at that age, how did you know, hey, there's a way that I can self-publish a book? I feel like a lot of 12-year-olds don't really think that way. So how did you know?
Yeah, I think I wanted to, because like I had heard of like stories, I don't know where, but just of other people doing it. So like I went and like looked for an app with my mom, and we found this self-publishing app where you could kind of publish, and I thought like it was like the coolest thing. But then as I like got older, I had a friend that I met in California, and she was already self-publishing books on Amazon, and I was like, whoa, that's kind of cool. And so like I checked it out, and there is a self-publishing where you can self-publish anything, and it actually can get to other stores and stuff and you make money off of it, and so like it actually, and like some of my books got picked up by Barnes and Noble, so like it's really cool. Like you think self-publishing is like, well, I have no other option, like I'm still always aiming to have it like professionally published, but like self-publishing is just a great way to get your stories out there, and you can promote it. And like I literally had a friend like text me tonight and send me a picture like, I just bought your book and off of Amazon, and I was like, oh, that means so much, so it's just like, it's really cool. Like Amazon has this like way for authors to get their work out that like not many people will take the time to read, and then hopefully you can inspire people through that.
Oh yeah, that's wonderful. So do you have a specific genre when you're specifically writing books that you like to stick to, or do you kind of go all over the place? Where's your passion at in that?
Well, like, I really think I stick to just dramas mainly. I write tragic. And, like, I think people might think that's, like, based on my real life. I'm like, no, I just, like, enjoy those types of stories because I enjoy reading, like, murder mysteries, and I enjoy reading, like, really, like, things that make me feel something. Like, whether I cry at a book or a movie, or I, like, feel happy. Like, really deep emotions are always the most impactful. And I think the way anyone is going to remember like what you wrote or what you gave to them through a story is if they feel something. If they like just read it to like kind of escape for the moment, it's like really like cheesy and like you didn't take any time, like they're not really going to remember that, but they're going to remember if something like changed their mind about something or made them feel a certain way. And so like dramas are basically what I stick to, but I like wrote a murder mystery, and I like writing period pieces, but they all have some sort of deep meaning, like about like love and selflessness, and just like I love those deep themes and redemption. I love all those themes. So just yeah, I think dramas really.
Do you also stick with dramas when writing screenplays as well? Yeah.
Yes. I mean, screenplays you can kind of branch out because like if you're writing like something that's like I think for a movie you can kind of do anything almost. I mean, you can do anything with a book. I feel like you have to be more detailed when writing a book than writing a script, because a script to me is just blueprints of telling your actors and yes, you are telling the story overall, but like you're also communicating to the people who are making it how you want it made and what you want them to say and do. And so you don't have to be as detailed. That can kind of come out in like the editing process or the filming or whatever the actors choose to do. And so you can be more creative, I think, and like I can have more fun with it. So I have written fantasy ones, I've written World War II screenplays, I've written stories based off my real life, inspired during like the hardest times of my life. Like I feel like one of the hardest times was moving actually here to Texas, as you know. And I would write stories that were kind of my circumstance, but they would be a different character, but she'd be going through the same thing. And even at the end, though, I hadn't seen like what God was going to do with my life, I was able to like kind of create a redemption story for those characters with hope that that would soon happen to me. And so I think, I have like a whole bunch of different genres with screenplays. I feel like with books, I stick to dramas because I can like really, I can talk a lot about that, and I feel like I can be more detailed with those because those are just like universal feelings. But with like fantasy and stuff like that, screenplays are easier for me to go to for that.
When I think of a writer, I think of, so my stepfather-in-law is a professional writer, and I know his brain is always just a turning. And when I think of writers, I think, oh my gosh, you must have just a million ideas all the time. And how do you, because you're in school right now too, so how do you navigate all these ideas, writing them down, and school at the same time?
Yeah, I think I go through waves of like writing where it's like I'll get like that I'll be inspired by something in my life, whether just like an event. Like, I mean, my friends like to tell me all the time my life is a sitcom. And so I'm like starting to think about it'd be funny to write like a college sitcom. I know there has been some out there, but like specifically based on my experiences. But like I think for books and stuff, like I just get like oh wow, like I really like I'm listening to like this old music right now, or I hear it in the coffee shop, like, oh, that'd be so cool if there's a story like that with some element in it, or I like watch another movie and I get inspiration through that. But like I mean, definitely with school it goes through waves. Like I feel like last year I had a more free time because I was only taking like 12 hours. I wasn't an RA, and so I was able to like write half a novel, and I'm still working on it. I just am so busy this year that I just really can't. What I'm working on right now is just screenplays and stuff, because screenplays, even though they will ultimately have to have a lot of dedication if you want them to get anywhere, they're pretty quick to write, because like you're just like they're like 100 pages you can write in a sitting, because like it's just like lines and just like almost directions of what to do. And while a book is just like you have to really detail it and carry the story. So I have waves of like wanting to write a screenplay over a book and wanting to write a book over a screenplay. It just depends. But with school, definitely this year has been harder for me to write because I've just been so busy, like incredibly busy with school. But definitely, like I always look forward to breaks and stuff when I can pick that stuff back up.
Yeah. What are you studying right now?
I'm an English major. Okay. I was originally a digital media major, and because I wanted to I thought, because DBU doesn't really have like a film program or anything, or theater, which I'm kind of bummed about, but I still felt like I wanted to go to this school, so I was like, fine, digital media, you can take cinematography classes for that. And so I got that major, and then it was mainly sports broadcasting, which is like interesting, but it's not what I want to do. And so I realized that if I'm an English major, I can learn all about storytelling and writing, but like you can take for electives the cinematography classes. So like that's just the best of both worlds, where I don't have to do like volunteer hours for sports games, because like I am just not a sports person. I have tried to be. It hasn't happened yet. But just like it's been really good to switch. Like I didn't have a lot of peace in my soul last year. I just feel like I was going back and forth, like, do I even want to go to this school? Like, I don't know where I belong. That's why I feel like a lot of freshmen feel that. But then once I switched my major, I'm like, oh, okay, that's what it was. Like, I feel so much at peace, and like I'm looking forward to like graduating with an English degree, and I'm a communications minor, so it's all the fun stuff like that.
Oh yeah, that's good. I am another person I interviewed on a podcast. Started acting professionally just a couple years ago, and she's in her late 30s right now. But she, she studied something completely separate than acting, and but on the side was still able to pursue all of these passions and whatnot. And so, although writing or English is very much attainable, and it correlates with what you're doing, but what you're also doing is doing your films, your projects, and whatnot on the side, so it all just works together. I think that that's great. So many people have a desire to write or pursue a passion of theirs, but feel that they aren't qualified or too young. They may lack experience. Did you ever struggle, or do you currently struggle with these beliefs as well?
Yeah, I feel like, it just really depends. Like, sometimes, like, I'm like, it doesn't matter. I'm so passionate about this. I want to get it done. And then other times I'm like, oh, man, like, there's so many, like, people who are so much older than me. And, like, even men, too. And, like, they're just so talented. And they know exactly what they're doing. And I feel like if I give any input, it's going to be, like, so dumb, And, like, it's, like, not going to even touch their experience, But, I mean, sometimes I have to remind myself, like, if you're passionate about it, typically you're good at it. I mean, depends, of course, that depends. But, what I found, like, the things I'm passionate about, like, I will work so hard until I'm good at them, And so, like, I feel like when you, at least, here's what, like, I've been working on a movie, and my cinematographer told me, because I think in my interviews, I was like, oh yeah, like that might just be a dumb idea. And he's like, no, like what I appreciate about you is you're very confident. Like it doesn't matter if you're feeling confident inside, like it just like you exude confidence because you're so passionate about it. And I think that's really what gets as far as like, if you believe you can do it and like you know what you're doing, I really feel like you can do anything. Like I definitely did not think I'd be making movies at 19. I didn't think I'd be writing books. And then when you meet the other people who do the same thing, you're like, wow. So I'm not the only one. And just like even I got to work for Kingdom Story Company this summer, and just like that, I never imagined in a million years I would ever get to do. Like that was always a dream from when I was a little girl, and then getting to go intern for them this summer was like. Every single day, I cherished every moment. It wasn't like I was just like going through the motions. Every single moment, I was like, I can't believe I'm here. I didn't expect to be here. Like, these people are my heroes, and I get to learn from them. And what I loved about them is they never, ever were like, you're 19, we're like in our 40s, you don't know what you're doing, we know what we're doing. It was just like we were all learning together. And that's the beauty of it, is it does not matter how old you are or what gender you are. God's put gifts in all of us that we can all bring together, and no one person can do one job on their own. That's what I saw about like movie making and even writing. Everyone has their place of what they need to do, and so it doesn't matter how old you are. If you're confident in what you do and you believe you can do it, go do it. Like, what's stopping you? You shouldn't let what other people say or try to communicate to you stop you from doing it. I think you should just all work together and like see how far you can get, because you can get far.
You mentioned that you interned, what was it called, the place called again this summer?
Kingdom Story Company.
Kingdom Story Company. For people who don't know, could you explain what they are and what that is?
Yeah, Kingdom Story Company is a Christian movie company. They aim to make faith-based films, inspirational films, etc. They're amazing. Like, literally, like, when people think of Christian movies, they just think really cheesy, bad acting, just like it's like movies that are made for people who go to church. But what Kingdom Story Company does is they make movies for people who are believers and for people who don't believe that. They just want, if you want to go see an inspirational movie, you can watch their movie. If you want to go see a movie that inspires your faith, go see this movie. That's who they are, and they're just so amazing. And like, they made the movie I Can Only Imagine, the movie I Still Believe, American Underdog, the Jesus music, and more recently they're about to release Jesus Revolution, which is February 24th, and I got to see it when I was there, and it was just like the coolest thing. And the people who work there, like what I love about the environment there is it's like these people are so talented, but they love first, you know, like they love so well. And so when I went there, I felt like I mattered, and I was expecting to be just like that silly intern who can't really talk to. So first of all, John and Andy Irwin are the ones who, and Kevin Downs are the ones who started Kingdom Story Company. They're very talented. People always want to like interview them, talk to them, like they're very big. And so I was just expecting to not be able to hardly even see them. Like maybe I'm just the intern they don't even notice. But when I walked in, like they were like, "Oh, it's so nice to meet you." And I know they're busy people, but they would stop and like just get to know me and talk to me and ask me how my life is. And I got to go to church with them and like just like have really good. I got to babysit their kids. You know, like it literally is just such a family oriented environment, and what I love is they show that through their movies, but also just who they are. It's like it just really changes the game, and it was so much fun. Like these people, I'm always gonna have these connections now that I got to do that, and like constantly for my projects, even when I'm writing something, when I'm writing a script, when I'm working on my movie that I'm working on, like there's this guy named Brent McCorkle. He's the director of Jesus Revolution, which comes out soon. He composed the music for I Can Only Imagine. Literally my film hero. He is the sweetest guy ever. And I've been like texting him and I'm like, hey, like I need help on composing, or I need help on writing this or directing. Like, what do you have any advice? He would send me like 7-minute audio recordings, just like telling me all the details. And it's just like, who gets to do that? Like I feel so blessed, and he is so kind to take the time out of his day to help inspire me and grow me. And I know I just see this outward reach with them, and it's just something that's so different about Kingdom. And I just feel like they're going so far. They really are. Like God's so blessing them, and all their movies just get better and better, and it's just such a blessing.
That's huge that, one, you got to have that experience, and two, it was so positive, because oftentimes internships, like you said, you know, you just thought, oh, I'm going to be the little intern, and they're just going to tell me to do whatever, and they welcomed you, and they, you know, like even now that you said that you contact this director and he's giving you all this advice, like, I mean, really, who does that? I think of that of, you know, people are so busy and they think about the time that they have and what they need to do. And so that's huge. Do you think that you'll go back next summer, or do you have hopes for doing that, or how does that work?
Well, I have no idea how it works. It was funny because, like, John and Andy's dad came in, and he was just like, oh, yeah, of course you can come back next summer. And he doesn't even work there, you know? So, like, I just think they have this, like, spirit of, like, come visit anytime. I don't really know about the internship. First of all, I don't know if I'll have time, but I definitely, like, it's somewhere I feel like I'm not done with. I feel like God's telling me, like, you're not done with this place. Like, Ben Smallbone, who, his brothers are the band for King and Country. And he helps make he's part of Radiate Studios, which is down there, and they work together. And he's so sweet as well, like also so intentional and kind. And he told me, because I literally like had like this nightmare while I was there that had to leave early. And I was like so sad. Like I woke up crying. I don't know why. And like I just like felt so sad to leave. And I told him that. And he's like, well, I mean, I'm not sure, but maybe it's just like the Lord telling you, like, you're not done here. Like, I still have something for you here. And that's what I feel like. I feel like whether I'm, like, going to act in one of their movies one day, or I'm going to work with them, or I'm just going to, like, they're going to be a part of my lives no matter what. Like, whether I'm involved directly with their company or not. I just feel like they're now, like, just, they help me every step of the way. And, like, they're going to, and they're always going to be a part of my life. And so I hope one day to be back there. It was just, like, something I'll never forget. But definitely just, like, lifelong friendships even from just that few months I was there is just more than I could have asked for.
Yeah, that's huge. Well, you also just mentioned that, you know, maybe I'll act one day, and we haven't even discussed that too. So you also are an actor or actress, and how often do you get to act or to perform, or do you mainly focus on the writing?
Yeah, I think, you know, my throughout my childhood, my parents told me, because they want me to have a childhood, so they said I couldn't act in movies till I was 18. And as like a 13-year-old, I was like, that is not fair. I don't understand. But getting to 18, you know what? I'm so glad I had a childhood. I was able to not have to be in the light, you know, and just like get to like be a normal kid, which was just so sweet, and I was so thankful for. But Yeah, when I did theater throughout high school, and I love that. It's funny, I was like such an introvert when I was little. Like I was so afraid to even call people by their first names. Like I was just the worst introvert. And I remember like loving to sing. I loved to sing when I was little. Probably too much. I feel like my dad says like I think I sing more than I talk, and that is true to an extent. And so um, yeah, I started doing musical theater and choir when I was in like elementary school. I did some choir performances, which you would dress up for. And then when I got into fifth grade, I did my first play, which I played Cinderella. And this, it was like, it's called Character Matters. And it was like all these fairy tale characters coming together to have like a therapy session. And so I was Cinderella and I got to sing. And that was like a crazy big step for me to be able to sing in front of people. And like, it went so well. It was so fun, and I realized, oh my gosh, I love acting. Like this is so fun. Like, and I feel like a lot of people want to do it for the fame, you know. And of course, I feel like even I struggle with that sometimes. Like, how can you not think about that? It's kind of exciting, but also I realized I love doing this. It doesn't even matter. Honestly, I feel like the point of acting is so someone will see it. But like, I love the experience of doing it. That even if the movie never got out, just like the experience was so satisfying for me. So, and then I was in Sherlock Holmes. I was in a couple melodramas. I most recently played in the Southern debut of The Wind in the Willows, which is a play written by Julian Fellows. I played Mrs. Otter. So that was my first time having like a leading role. And so that was really fun. It's so much fun to be a lead. Like, it really is. Like, it's such a blessing to have, like, be in a small school where you have more of a chance of getting a lead. At DBU, I definitely would not get a lead because there's some amazing, amazing singers here. But that was my last play, and then when I turned 18, I, like, immediately started applying for movies. I think my first thing to audition for was a movie called Lifemark, which is actually, it's either in the theaters or about to come into the theaters. I didn't make it, obviously, but it's a Christian movie called Lifemark, directed by, like, Kurt Cameron and Alex Kendrick. And it looks like it's going to be really good. I just remember, like, auditioning for that and being like, wow, this is so cool. I would love to do this if God allows. But, like, obviously, I was a senior in high school, so I, like, really couldn't have done it because I was trying to do my school. But, like, it's cool to see it come out now and be like, oh, I auditioned for that. Like, I seen that scene in the trailer. Oh, that was the scene I auditioned for. But then I started doing short films. My first one was for a UTA short film. So I did that. That was fun. I auditioned for it and didn't get it, and then their lead actress dropped out. And so then they called me, and it was just so fun. Like, I feel like us as new actors, we just, like, auditions hardly ever go well, in my opinion. They always are just never as good as, like, the actual thing. So, like, I think all of us are just praying that someone will just give us a shot. It doesn't matter if our audition was bad. Just give us a shot, and we can prove to you that we got it, you know? So just, like, to be given that shot was just so good, because then once you do it, even though you don't get paid and it doesn't probably get very, very far, you at least have that for your reels, which you eventually build up a reel of acting, so casting directors can see what you are good at, you know? And then from that, it got me casted in another film for UTA called Echo, and it was like a horror thing. It was like a thriller. And those were just little things. Not many people saw them, but they were so fun. And then I keep auditioning for stuff, you know. I've done some modeling stuff because that's like easier to do with my schedule. I don't really have time to act in like films right now, but if it's on the weekends, you know, or it's like in between a class for like either modeling or acting thing, like, I mean, if I'm available, I'll do it, you know. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Do you have a draw towards acting more so than writing, or writing more than acting? Where do you stand in that?
I don't know. I think for a career, I want to act. You know, for a career, I don't want to screenwrite, but one of my biggest heroes in the film world is Greta Gerwig. She wrote Lady Bird, she wrote 20th Century Women, she wrote Little Women, like the script for it. And she's amazing. She's a director, she's an actress, she's a writer, and she's a woman. You know, like, she's like so amazing. And like, her films always make me cry. Like Little Women, the movie Little Women from 2019, like, any scene, literally, you could turn it on and I get emotional watching it. Like, it's my favorite story. So, like, I want to do what she does, you know? She inspires me. Like, she started out as an actress. She goes back and forth from, like, directing. And her husband's also a director. He directed the movie Marriage Story, which is, like, my favorite movie ever. Because it's just so beautiful, the way it's just, everything is so good at that movie. So yeah, it's just like I want to do that, but mainly acting. Like I would just love to just act as a career and actually be successful in it. It's really hard. Like Andy Irwin told me when I worked at Keenum, he's like, acting will always be a hobby until it's a career. So you have to just have that mindset. It will always be a side thing until it becomes an ultimate thing like that you do. And so I do have that expectation. So I write in the meantime. Anytime I don't, I love storytelling. I love writing. And I think the biggest reward for writers to see it come to life before them. So like with the movie I've been making, it's been crazy to like write a script and then like see it come to life before. Like this was in my imagination. This was in my brain. And now it's before me. And like it doesn't even matter if anyone else sees it. I'm getting to see it. And that's just such a blessing. It's so cool.
Well, tell us a little bit about that film that you've been working on and the inception of it and you know, kind of the steps that you took and where you're at now with it. I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah. So during Christmas break, this past Christmas break, I've been into the show Parenthood, which I really love. And it's just like such a good show. And Ray Romano is in it. And he plays this character that is just really just like going through a rough spot. And he is like in a divorce. And he has his daughter who's like really bratty, and like they're just all struggling with this divorce. And I don't know why, but like they didn't like it. Yes, that storyline is a big part of like the last few seasons, but like I wanted a whole season just their story because Parenthood goes from different stories, but I just wanted to watch their story. So I was like, I wish they had something that was just that story. So like, what if I wrote something like that, you know? Not exactly, but like similar, where I could branch deeper into those issues that like people actually feel and those feelings. And so I wrote a short film because I'm like, it's fun to write short films because yes, they are shorter, so they're easier to write, but they're also harder to write in that you have to make every single scene count. There can't be any room for anything else. Everything has to be meaningful in a short film. So that was exciting for me, and I wrote it, and once I finished it, I started talking to one of the directors of my other short films I was in, and she basically had said she was thinking about making it, and I just got this like, oh my gosh, this story, be able to see it, whoa, and then it just never happened, and so I was like, oh, bummer, like I wish this story could happen. Like the story is called We Were Happy, and it's about a man named Noah and his wife Carol and their daughter Judy. And basically, Carol and Noah have just had a divorce. Noah never wanted the divorce, but he feels guilt and like it's his fault. And Carol's also kind of put that guilt on him. You don't really know her side of the story yet. But then his daughter, she's like a brat at the beginning and like very just like rebellious and like gets on his nerves. They both get on each other's nerves. But she's like processing this. Like she thinks what's going to satisfy this void of her parents' divorce is to go live with her mom now. And so when she tells her dad that, he's like, no, like he's going to lose her, you know, like what is his life going to look like if he's not a part of her life anymore, you know? So that's kind of what my story is about. And so, you know, I told some people at Kingdom about it, and I think that's like all I thought about it this summer. And then like I started thinking about it more when I got to college, and like I mean, I was like, why am I thinking about this now? I literally just started the busiest season of my life, you know? And so, yeah, then I DM'd a bunch of people I knew who make movies. I was like, hey, do y'all know anyone who's like wants to make a movie, has everything ready for it, and because I thought I cannot do this on my own. I cannot do this on my own. I am just so unqualified, you know? I don't have much experience. But I would just like DM'd a bunch of people. I was like, do you know anyone who's just looking for a story? Because I got a story. I just don't have anything else. And this one guy was like, let's make it. And I was like, what? He's like, I have all the guys ready. And he's like, go for it. And so I like immediately jumped on and I went on Backstage, which is a casting website, and I started looking at all the actor profiles, and I started messaging them being like, I'm casting for this film, all this stuff. I started just like reaching out to people I knew for like all this stuff. And then the other guy who said he was gonna like help me make it, like when I got on the phone and I told him everything I'd planned out, I planned out literally every single thing, and he's like, oh, well, I actually don't really need to help you anymore because you seem to have done it all yourself. And I'm like, what? I thought I couldn't do it myself. And it just kind of showed me like, oh, you are capable, you know, like all I needed was someone to tell me I could do it. And then I did it, and I was like, whoa. And so like then I started talking to this guy named Joe Henkel, And I was like, we were mutual friends on Instagram, and he was like, I had posted on my story, if anyone wants to read this script and give me feedback, I would love it. And he was like, I'll read your script, and he read it, and he really liked it. We started talking more and more about it, and then he was like, I really want to be involved in this project, like, I really, like, feel like there's something to this project. And so, yeah, then he became my cinematographer, like, and co-director, and it just, like, and he's, like, super talented, and he, like, paid for the camera we were going to use. I started getting cast together. We started finding locations, we used Northway and my house, which it just worked out. And so, yeah, and then, I remember I, like, finally had casted everyone, and I was really nervous because I never met half of the people before. So, like, they can be good actors. Like, I saw their auditions. They were great, but are they nice people? It's, like, your prayer, you know? And so, like, I had a rehearsal up at DBU. I met them all. Kindest people ever. So enthusiastic. And Melissa, she played the mom. And she told me something. I don't remember her actual words, but she was saying, like, their age cannot, like, stop creativity. Like, there's no limit to creativity, even with your age. And, like, I, like, had thought of it for this podcast because I was like, wow, like, that really impacted me, and it meant a lot to me because I was telling them, you know, you probably thought I was, like, 35, you know? And then, like, getting here, like, oh, she looks like she's 14, you know? Like, I was, like, afraid of that, but they were just so encouraging to me, like, we are here for you, like, even though you can't pay us, we're gonna, like, give our all. And they did, like, we had a rehearsal, and I was like, I remember my friend Jonathan, who's our editor, he looked at me once we finished our read-through, and he's like, oh yeah, like, this is great, this is gonna be great. And we shot it during my fall break, and, like, there's a time when we filmed this certain scene, and Emily and Adam, who are our two lead actors, Emily actually is one of my friends here, and they did this scene, and a lot of us were in tears watching it. Like, they were so good, like, oh my gosh, it's award worthy. Like, it was so good. Aww. And so just, like, to be able, like, to see that, and just, like, it meant a lot to me for someone who just never has, like, courage in my own self to do things, to see that these people took me seriously, you know? And, like, they took me seriously, and the environment was good, you know? Like, everyone was comfortable. It was fun. We were having fun, but they did take it seriously. And to see the final result, because I have been, like, in the editing room with Jonathan, and he's doing a fantastic job, and my friend Darian's composing it. You know, you just, like, you bring together what you can, and it's just been amazing to see it come together. I'm like, this is actually good. Like, I can do it, you know? Like, I never thought I could, but, like, it happened, you know? So, it's cool, and I'm excited to, like, just take our time on it. Like, there's no rush to, like, finish in a certain time. And then even, like, Brent, the director from Kingdom, told me he wants to see my film when it's done and will possibly help me with editing tips if there's anything they see. And I'm even giving, like, a speech in a couple days for my speech class on Kingdom Story Company, and they asked to see it. So, like, there's, like, even that relationship that means so much. Like, they actually care about what I'm doing, even though obviously it's not $1 million budget for it. I, like, had no budget for my movie, but they just want to see it, and they're very supportive, you know? So I think it's been encouraging to have support from everybody, even my parents, who have just been, like, amazing, and, like, even letting us use their workplace and house, you know, to do it, and just to see it come together, and just, like, it's a crazy thing. Like, I really, like, it's all the Lord, and it's all everyone else who worked on it. Like, and even though I did do a lot for the project, like, just everyone came together of all different ages, and we made this thing, and it's just, we made art, and it's beautiful, and it's fun. So
I am, like, so pumped right now hearing the steps that you took, just even, you know, you reaching out to people and just figuring out and finding somebody that could do this and this and this, and casting. Like, I just, you know, as I'm listening, I think, man, that's a lot of work to do that, and you went out and you did it, and I can't wait to see the final product. I'm just super inspired. I know that you're going to be very successful in whatever endeavors you do and you take, but I'm excited to see what happens with you.
Thank you.
So since you're in the process of editing everything, how long are you hoping that the film will be, since it's a short?
Yeah, so, I mean, Jonathan's basically done editing. We're just nitpicking the little things like audio and, like, what it looks like visually. But, like, we have it all together, all the shots together. There's probably a couple things we're going to need to re-record. I mean, you can never predict what it's going to be. And so when you get to the editing room, you're like, oh, I wish we had shot that instead. Or I wish we had done this. And a lot of stuff you can't do. And that just happens with every film. It doesn't even matter if it's like a huge film. Like, it just happens. So, but like right now, it's 15 minutes. And it's probably going to be around 15 minutes, which is longer than I thought it would be, which is great. I thought it was going to be like 10 minutes. So, which is like great for a short film. Short films are nice because they're, as long as they stay in like the 30-minute range, they're considered a short film. So it's longer, and which is what I wanted. And it's like, yeah, it's looking really good. Like, I'm just like very impressed with Jonathan's skill to use Premiere.
That's wonderful. Your faith, I know, is a huge part of who you are and how you live your life.
Oh, yes.
You know, thankfully you had that experience this summer with a faith-based company, Christian-based company. How do you, when you're not working on a faith-based one that you align with, how do you honor and live by your faith in a field where God tends to be on the back burner or irrelevant?
Yeah, I think our world tries to make it look like, you know, I mean, yes, a lot of our world, like, if you say you're a Christian, you're not going to be hired, you know? That's just, like, a lot of the time. Or if you disagree with something, like, you know, you can't be hired. And so I think, you know, it's so important to just, like, what we're talking about in church right now is actually just not compromising, you know? And that's something that's so hard because sometimes you can get, like, huge roles or like big opportunities if you would just compromise this one little thing that's not a big deal, which is what they say. But like, I even heard from like actress Madeline Carroll. She was in The Spy Next Door, Mr. Popper's Penguins, I Can Only Imagine, and I heard her testimony, which was actually what really inspired me to be like, Jesus is the only one who matters in this film career of mine. It is not about me. If he gives me the passion and the talent to do this, it is only for his glory. And how dare I take that and make it about me, you know? And so I heard her testimony, and she's like, she started out, she was in movies with Jim Carrey and Jackie Chan, you know? And like, she's like amazing and such a talented actress. And she was saying she got just offered this role of a lifetime, and there was a lot of things she was gonna have to compromise on, and basically it would have opened every single door she ever wanted in the acting career that she wanted, and she turned it down because she felt like the Lord didn't want her to do it. And the actress who did get it got all the roles she wanted for the rest of her life, but she compromised, you know? And so Madeline was like, okay, I guess my career's over. I'm never going to get cast in anything. That was my one shot. But no, like, what we think, this is what my dad said. Sometimes the things we think are better are not. Jesus is always better, you know? He is the better. He would never ask you to leave behind the better for the lesser thing. In our minds, Hollywood and all these great films are the better thing. But no, they're not. They're just like full of compromise and evil sometimes. And like, even if the movie itself isn't like evil or like inappropriate, there's always stuff underneath, even just like pride in some of the directors and stuff. So you just like, yeah, I just think hearing Madeline's story was just so impactful for me. It made me just be like, okay, like, I feel like God's like calling me to Kingdom Story Company. And I just like, the way I got there was insane. Like, literally, I was praying. There's this man at our church named Raymond Harris, and he's a producer for them. And I knew him. I had met him once because the president of our university, Dr. Wright, knew him. And I like met him, but I didn't want to ask because like I was like, I don't want to like think I don't want him to think I'm taking advantage of him. So I didn't ask about getting me connected, but I knew he knew the Irwin brothers and they were my stinking heroes. But I was like, I'm not going to say anything. And so then I just like was talking to my mentor. She's like, you should just email him, just ask him if he has like any way I could get connected. Not necessarily asking him to connect me, but do you know any way? So I did. And I was like, you know what? If he responds, great. If not, oh well. It's just like I trusted God, but I felt like God's call. I felt like God wanted me. God told me, I want you to do this with your life. Like, if I'm going to give this to you, you need to do it for me. You know, that's what I felt like he was saying to me. And so I like sent him this email in faith, And I decided, you know what? I'm not going to go to class today, and I'm going to take a walk down DBU's trails. And I'm just going to pray, and I'm just going to talk. You know what, God? This is not my life to live. This is your life that you're going to live through me. And let that be so. And so I was walking, and I was just praying. I'm like, God, if it's your will that he gets me connected, if I can even just run into him again, like, God, please. And as I'm on this trail, I literally kid you not, I, like, hear someone go, Emma! I look up, and it's him, Raymond Harris, and Dr. Wright.
No way.
And they're on the trail. And Dr. Wright was like, we were just talking about your dad and all this stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I literally almost cried. I was like, God, I was literally praying that I could run into this man. And he's on the same trail as me at DBU. And he's like, I just read your email. I want to get you connected. And then he connected me to Josh Walsh, who is a producer for them. And then he connected me to Nick Carey, who I interviewed with. I got the interview. And then I got the internship. But the thing is, it was an unpaid internship in Nashville. And so I was like, how in the world am I going to do that? And I literally I prayed. I started GoFundMe. People donated, and I raised more than enough money. And then we were able to get an affordable car for me to take out there. And the last thing I needed 4 days before I was supposed to leave is I needed a place to stay, but all the places were filled up. And I was like, okay, God, I feel like you're calling me to this, but you might just be like testing my faith, but I'm just going to trust you to provide for this one last thing. And 4 days before I was supposed to leave, I got a call. Well, my aunt texted me and said, like, she had these friends who are empty nesters who, like, wanted to let me stay with them for free for the whole summer.
Wow.
And I was like, it was the Lord. So, like, I went out there, and, like, I don't even know. I probably went on a bunny trail from your question. But, you know, like, I just feel like God just provides these opportunities. You don't have to, like, do what the world tells you have to do in order to make it. He will give you the better thing, which is himself. And people think, like, I don't know, it's settling if you do that, but no, it's the better thing. You find the most joy in serving him. And so I found with anything, like, I always thought, is this something that I just want to do, or is this what God's calling me to do? Because, like, I don't know. Like, God revealed that to me. And I notice anytime I'm just, like, have this open posture, he gives me more than I ever could imagine. And he gives me these opportunities that I never expected to have. And he provides, like, he is the one who provided for my movie. I could not have done that without him, and I hardly had to spend a penny, you know? Like, that's rare. And that was only the Lord providing everything I needed because he knew this was an imposture. This was to glorify him, so he provided for it, you know? So I just feel like I just, like, take so much joy in, like, doing this career and pursuing it for the glory of God, because he's going to bless that.
That's beautiful. Those are great words. I love it. I'm like, yeah, mic drop right there, Emma. That's exactly what people need to hear. So kind of back to, like, age, and, you know, you're 19 and you're doing all these things and you're in school. It's so impressive, and I just absolutely love it. People often believe the lies that their age dictates what they can and can't do. And at a very young age, as we talked about, you started writing to pursue a dream of yours. What would you say to someone your age or even younger who feels as though they are too young to follow a dream like this?
Yeah, I feel like following the dream doesn't necessarily have to be, like, achieving that dream right then. You know, it's working towards that dream, and you can do that at any age. Because this is what I was saying, like, I wasn't allowed to do it till 18. And there's a lot of roles you can't audition until you're 18, or a lot of things you can't do until you're 18. And so during that time, I was so discouraged before, because I was like, I want to do this, but, like, I'm not old enough. Like, I physically literally can't do it. But my mom's like, that doesn't mean you can't pursue that dream still. You can't work. My mom said, work on your craft. These are the years before 18 that you have the time to get good at what you're doing. So when you reach the age, you will be able to do it well. And I took that advice so hard. And I was like, you know what? I'm 13, but that means I have 5 years to just work and get good at what I'm doing. So, like, I watched videos on how to act. I mimicked actors. I, like, learned all I could from behind the scenes. I continued to write. I got better at writing. I entered into contests and found my skills. And, like, if I won a contest, you know, be like, okay, this is something I'm good at. Like, let me continue to get better at this. And I feel like pursuing your dreams can be at any age. And then when the time comes, when God opens that door for you, you will be ready, you know? So, like, don't let your age limit you. Don't just think, oh, I'm not old enough, so I shouldn't try. Absolutely try. Chase after it. Even if you might not be the age that you're allowed to do it at, you can always still follow your dreams and like get good at what you want to do. And so when the time comes, you'll be ready, and it will be brainless, and you'll just like, you'll get there and you'll be like, oh, that felt like no time at all. And here I am. I'm doing it. You know, I feel like if I had just said, you know what, I'm 13. Like, this is stupid. Like, I can't even do it. So I'm just not going to do it. I don't think I would be where I am right now. Because if I had let my age stop me. And also the Bible says don't let people look down on you because you're young. And so I think just, like, keeping that in mind. Like, okay, like, as Melissa said, like, talent has no basis on age, you know? I know, like, people who are younger than me who are so good at the things I wish I was good at, you know? And it's because they're working hard at it. You just have to work hard, and don't let your age or, like, barriers stop you, because you will get to those barriers and be able to hop over them if you have worked for it, you know?
Absolutely. Well, I have one more question, and it's very similar to what I just asked you, but slightly different. And okay. If you have anything different to say, feel free to say it. If not, that's completely okay. So and I like to ask this for most people I interview as well, if you could encourage one woman, regardless of age, young, old, medium, who feels limited based on her current season in life, what advice would you give?
I would just say, don't be discouraged. Don't let what people tell you discourage you, because I think the biggest barrier is our own discouragement and letting ourselves be discouraged, you know? And I just think man doesn't dictate what the final result will be. God gets to do that, you know? And good. So if you're just trusting in God, like, why are you worrying? God knows what he's doing. I feel like worry is almost like, even though it's inevitable because we're like bound, like we're sinners, you know, we're going to be sinners this side of heaven, you know? But like, literally don't, like, trust God. Like, he's already there. He's already at the end of it, you know? I was telling one of my friends who feels so discouraged by her circumstances, and I'm like, you know what? Just, like, trust God. Like, he's already at the end of it. He's already on the other side. And he knows exactly why this season is necessary for you right now. You know? If you can't do what you really want to do in this season, maybe you're not ready for it yet. Maybe you still have some preparation before then. So when the time comes, you'll be like, I'm so glad for those years when I got to learn, you know, before I got to do. So that's what I would say. It's just like, trust God. He has your life in his hands, you know? And all you have to do is rest in that and be like, you know what? It might be 10 years. It might be 100 years, you know, before it happens. But like in the now, how can I get better at what I want to do in the now? And how can I love others now? How can I just enjoy what I'm passionate about in the now? And then when the time comes, I will be ready, and I'll be so glad for those years. I just got to sit and be a student of what I want to learn, you know? So
I love it. Emma, wonderful. I thank you so much for joining me today. Your words, your story is just so inspiring, and I sincerely am very excited just to see where the Lord takes you in acting, in directing, producing, writing. I mean, what can you not do, Emma? What can you not do? So if people wanted to follow along with you with your writing or with your film, what's the best place to reach you?
I think Instagram. I have an Instagram called @storiesbysumlin, and that's SUMLIN. And that is like my actor profile, where I'll like post the things that I'm doing, or I'll post the stories I'm working on, like all the scripts, all the books, all my stories. That's why it's called stories, because I think stories aren't just like what you write, but what you also act. And so I have it all in there. And then also for my movie, there is an Instagram page called @WeWereHappyFilm, and you can follow that and like get the scoop on like when premiere dates will be, or like what the behind the scenes, what the cast are doing right now, you know? So those are like great ways to see, you know, what I'm working on and my life, you know? So yeah.
And if anyone wants to read one of your books, they can go to Amazon?
Yes, Amazon. Emma Sumlin is the author name, obviously. And, you know, I have a book called The Dark and the Dangerous, and the rest are screenplays. So I think The Dark and the Dangerous, and I have another one. It's like a fantasy one. Why can't I remember the name? That's really bad. But it's on Amazon too. It's a novella. So yeah, just those kinds of things you can go on Amazon, or I think I have some on Barnes & Noble's website. So, yeah.
Perfect. And I'll put it in the show notes too so people can go to that if they're interested and they want to follow along. Well, thank you so much again, Emma. I appreciate your time and I appreciate your story. So thanks again, Emma.
Thank you.